Hello and welcome to another episode of the ICC Academy Livecast, a new podcast series where we take a deeper dive into global business trends and ideas. I'm your host, Thomas Paris, and in this episode, we will explore the future of the academic landscape. Our special guest today is Professor Suryavanshi, a leading academic with experience as Vice Chancellor, Dean, Professor, Coach, and Mentor. Thank you so much for joining us, Professor. How are you doing?
Thank you, Thomas. Very, very fine. How about you?
Doing very well. Thank you for coming
Great.
in. It's been a while since we've been, planning to do this session.
Absolutely.
So before we get started, maybe you could tell us a little bit about your background and your current roles.
Mr. Thomas, I'm an academic for over 20 years of experience, and my area of teaching is marketing science and as well as entrepreneurship. So I started my career as a corporate in India's one of the leading company called Reliance Industries Limited. This is one of the Fortune 500 companies, and in terms of presence, they are into oil, telecom, polymer, plastics, and all kinds of products, including infrastructure, energy. So after working with the corporate, then I shifted to academics after doing my PhD in marketing. And in academics, my area of work has been teaching of marketing. Besides teaching of marketing, I have also tried to focus on entrepreneurship development. So entrepreneurship immersion, entrepreneurship incubation, as well as trying to help students identify new ideas and also carry out techno-commercial feasibility study for those ideas to become real ventures. So in a couple of years, I have focused on that. So these days, if you look at, I teach a course at University of London for their global MBA program, and then I'm also mentoring some of their startup which is a part of Mumbai division, India. And then if you look at some of the consultancy projects with the corporate, these are all part and parcel of today's academic, especially business management. So it's like a part teaching, part research, part academic administration, and few of the areas for management development programs and consultancy. So that keeps you quite busy, I guess.
Wow. No, that's an eclectic portfolio. How long would you say that you've been teaching marketing specifically?
I've been teaching marketing specifically, if I tell you, 16 and a half years.
Wow. Okay, so things have definitely changed during that time.
Has changed. Everything has changed. Right from product packaging to advertisement to brand communication to brand recall. 15 years back in developing economy, there was nothing called recall. Recall was only limited to the developed economy. But now if you find that the customer landscape are imitating the traits of a really global world, is that the consumers are also global. Their expectations are also global, as well as the requirement of a product with respect to the pricing are also global in nature. You can't go to Kenya and say that, okay, this product did not work very well, so you manage, we are not going to recall and replace. No, the customers there will have same set of expectations as those who would have in Paris or New York. So this has happened. Another aspect which I find quite a change over here is the packaging and the content. You'll find earlier, for example, air conditioners, if you ask your parents how those air conditioners were there, those air conditioners were designed for lasting almost 20-25 years. They never became faulty. Heavy materials, heavy coiling, everything. But today's air conditioner, even a child can lift up. Weight is very light. Maybe they say it's efficient, but then the life is also very less. They start, getting malfunctioning quite early, which was not there.
Right.
Few elements like if you look at students' perception and trying to push the brand promotion. We never had 12-13 years back somebody called influence group. It was all some celebrity will come and talk about a product, but now there's an influence group who work only upon social media. So yes, a lot of changes have happened, but I guess the changes have been for better.
Right.
Really.
So what inspired you to go from working on the more corporate side before the PhD to now working on the entrepreneurial side? Is this, the influence of being a teacher and wanting to, sort of cultivate the ideas at a much more micro level? Or tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, actually, if you look at it happened part out of interest and also part out of, I'll say, a chance. Way back around 11 years back, those days I used to teach only marketing. But there was one of the competition by Economic Times, which is a very very famous business paper, published out of Bombay and Delhi, major cities in India. So Economic Times ran a contest for power of ideas. So this was the power of ideas to test how many ideas are there and which can be developed. So my ideas was one of the finalists. So I did participate. So anyway, so from that side, the inclination came that okay, teaching marketing is one part, but you must try to venture. So I started working with students who wanted to become entrepreneurs, and that learning has been immense because probably I taught them very less what they taught me in return. These kids are full of energy, and even if you find that they don't have a method, the way they talk, the way they walk, but I'll tell you, not having a method is their method. And they are fantastic, very, very bright people. So yes, I teaching a course in marketing and incubating, mentoring entrepreneurial ideas out of students, out of young startup. It is so rewarding. You feel so happy. Besides, it keeps you on track to know that what's happening in the world. I think another thing would be interesting to know that there is an award by Caterva. So Caterva organization is out of Netherlands, founded by Mr. Waghorne, but they have an office in London, and every year they come out with award. The prizes for they call Caterva awards, and these are the awards which is considered to be Nobel stature as far the social entrepreneurship is concerned. So having a jury on this particular Caterva prize body for around last 3.5 years. So by seeing the ideas coming from the students all over the world, it has been simply overwhelming, so profound. The kids are doing work how to sustain growth of a plants. Kids are doing work how to increase the yield for a fisherman without depleting the ocean. Something which we never thought. Could someone think about? Even there is one idea about how to soak more rainwater around the trunks of the trees at the base of the tree by designing some catchment and some kind of metallic sheet. So ideas, when you find and meet, you realize how come these are the people who think more about such novel ideas. It has been really, really very, very satisfying for me to focus on both.
So a lot of, from what I'm hearing, a lot of the sort of innovative projects that you've been seeing are all around, when it comes to sustainability, climate change, and being conservative on those sides. I guess my question would be, how have things changed from the time that you started on the entrepreneurship side, on the jury side? What are the sort of topics that initially you were encountering maybe 10 or even 15 years ago, as opposed to the topics that you're encountering now? How have things completely changed on the nature of the projects themselves?
Yeah, it's an interesting question, Mr. Thomas. Let me really, it's a very, very intelligent question. See how it has changed on a few fronts. For example, the ideation front. Earlier, you'll find most of the ideas revolve around brick and mortar. There would be physical point of presence. Now I find most of the ideas are not requiring physical point of presence. So they would try to use heavy use of data. They would try to use websites. They would try to use digital medium, social medium, and they will try to use the technology basically to leverage. Earlier it was not. They will try to have a brick and mortar kind of business ideas. Another what I found among the student startup, earlier they will try to seek a guidance on how to secure loan, a commercial loan from a commercial banks. These days, the entrepreneurs or future entrepreneurs, I find, they say, Professor, can you help me connect with some investors? So this is something which 12 years back, students knew about investors, but they're very few in number. So they will go for typical debt period from the banks and how to raise the capital. But these people say, no, I am going to meet investors. And earlier, you find the students trying to meet the investors will be properly dressed, a full like an English gentleman, absolutely trousers, shirt and ties and blazer, But these days, I find people will simply go into Bermuda or jeans which are torn on the knees. Sometimes they'll go in the bathroom sleepers and they will try to go and meet CEOs. Not very good idea. Personally, I think if you go to meet somebody senior or somebody good, you must be properly dressed. But they don't care.
Right. It's the new generation.
Yes, and that's why I said that not having a method is probably their method. But having said all the things, they are very, very bright set of people because they are not willing to accept any nonsense anymore. That is very clear. If you want to tell them something, you have to convince them. That means they are true democratic in nature. So these are the few differences I have found. Another thing, which is the last thing on this particular, topic, is that these are the students who are focusing a lot on precision. Earlier, I'll find students will focus on mass, volume, but they are the ones who focus on precision. They are not after volume. So you'll find these guys, these kids, 6 p.m., they say, sorry, the day is over. They will close down, take up their cell phone, put their bags on their shoulder and walk to a cafe and start having coffee. Earlier, they will keep on working till 9 p.m., 10 p.m., 11 p.m. and still go home drenched and very much tired to come back next day at 8:30 for the work. These people, the present generation, so probably they have more balance.
Right. No, it's interesting. What would you say is the sort of leadership style? Because I assume with all of the projects that you've been incubating, some of them have, at least some of them have, taken off and they've grown organically around their ideas. What would you say, how would you qualify the leadership style of those who have really taken off? So you touched on it a little bit when it comes to, the way of presenting yourselves, also just the mindset, but maybe you could elaborate more on the actual leadership style for these people.
Yeah, that's interesting because, what I have found that the leadership style or the managing style, earlier, the entrepreneurs out of the students, I find that they will try to be working in a team of 2 people, 1 person, 2 to 3 people, and they will try to devise the role whereby there is a CTO, there is a chief executive officer, and so on and so forth. So they were trying to behave like a grandfather while they were a toddler. Same hierarchy, But these days, I find they do not believe in hierarchy. They will try to get the people from all over the world, make them a team, and they are not hesitant to say, sorry, join our team as CTO, Chief Technology Officer, but you will not draw a salary for 1 year. And people join them. This is amazing. Earlier, nobody will join a company without any salary. But they are the kids who are able to take them just on the promise that their idea is going to flourish one day. This is one leadership, which is trying to take everybody together. Second leadership is that they have tried to become more of a team player. So what we say in management, from autocratic leadership, they have become participative leaders. So they're all very participative leaders. So that means somebody is founder, someone is co-founder. So founder will find a co-founder sitting together somewhere, maybe on the ground, drinking a beer or whatever, and without you can't make it out who is what. So this is good that the barriers of office or structures have been broken, but I guess more than these, the mental barriers they have broken completely by saying that, look, I have to get this thing done, and so far the rules permit me, you should not stop me from getting my dues. So they are the people who are very, very, I'll say, completely outgoing, who are willing to get their share of the dues from the universe very, very fast.
Right. So during your time as professor, the incubation of ideas is one thing, but actually seeing them hatch is another. Do you have a specific process in place for you to identify what you think could be a successful project and whether or not the people who are at the head of it have what it takes to actually take it over to the finish line? Do you have a certain process, or do you know what to look for?
Yes.
Yeah.
So there is a process. For example, whenever the students come out, or even students or young entrepreneurs who are not students but staying in the vicinity, if they come out with the ideas and they submit the ideation to us, then normally we run through our own core, faculty review or the other practitioners review, saying that is there any product already there in the market? And even if there is a product there, still the features can make a differentiating point. For example, there can be so many glasses, but each glass has a utility. different water, etc., etc. So these people will come out with this, they'll submit the ideas. We will try to run through the process of techno-commercial feasibility. That technically it is right, or are this technology being used somewhere? If somewhere it is being used, you do not do alone. There is no point of reinventing the wheel, which already the wheel is there. So I'll say, all right, they're already there. So try to improvise or try to adapt that idea, maybe slightly become better. You don't have to reject the idea.
Right.
So this is, I find that yes, this I have to go through. So we run through techno-commercial feasibility aspect. Once it is done, then we look further about their team. Now, if the team is not composite, we'll request the entrepreneurs or the lead entrepreneur to get the composite teams. Composite teams means the team which is true representative of all the key quality that a company should have, a young company. So this is about this, I'll find that, okay, they have to get that. Once it is done, then we try to basically get the product costing, price offering, and what is the point of differentiation. That means, is there any blue ocean possible? If the market is saturated, can this product or can this feature churn the market and come out with some blue ocean out of the market which is totally saturated? So this is there we put them through to know that how you can try to find out a better things, how to make an area. So if that process also done, last we try to ask them to develop a prototype or a pilot. So they develop a prototype. For example, someone comes with a new bicycle ideas. So I like bicycle, but now develop the prototype. So that takes time, it's a brick and mortar, welding, and even a software ideas. They need to really test the beta versions. Some type bug will come, etc. And the moment it is done, that this also has been done, then finally we try to prepare them through elevator pitches, normal pitches. Elevator pitches, that typical 2 minutes pitching. So that is there. So once the pitching they do to the senior people, things become very easy for them. So once we see that the investors pitching, they have got it right, then we will try to, in the meanwhile, try to get their company formed through the help of company secretary, chartered accountant, and further request some of the entrepreneurs or the venture capital or the equity, retail equity investor to look at this idea and invest in the company. So these are the processes. Another thing what we do sometime, the company, some of the students will come, they're already 3 years old company, we'd like to scale it fast, but sometimes we have seen that they have to withdraw and they have to close down the company. So both happens. Why they have to close down the company? Because there is a problem on the regulation part, problem on the human resource part, problem on the production part. So I find these are the steps, and stages through which a future entrepreneur is groomed.
Right. Do you remember maybe one project that seemed to encounter significant difficulties at any one of these parts that managed to adapt and overcome it? Something that was probably a good idea at the start, but maybe either at the production side or when it came to the marketing and maybe pricing positioning side, ran into some issues, but managed to, whether it's with yourself or with another, to be able to navigate through that.
Yes, many.
Right.
Many of the projects, many of the ideas of the students and even people who were young managers, many of the projects have come this way. Without naming any particular company or any of the startup, there was one such idea whereby they wanted to generate electricity after each time you brake. So if you are driving a car, basically car, each time you brake, there's a mechanical force. So there used to be some kind of energy receptor which will transmit the energy to a storage battery, and that battery will run lights and all other utility in a car. And they had an idea, so we said that why don't you run a pilot to know that how much of the electricity is required by a, let's say, car, and how much the power, this battery life will be saved if in case we are able to use this mechanical energy and convert to electrical energy and like that. But the prototype which was developed in the pilot study could not be done very, very well. So in spite of having a very good idea could not get much of traction on the part of investors. This happened. But there was one idea whereby they have tried to deal with organic products, And organic products, they try to sell it whereby the normal thing they will not sell, they will try to fortify with nutraceuticals. So they try to put, pasta was one product in that range. They try to fortify because there are certain areas in India and other parts of the world where poverty is still there. People are not getting good quality of food, all the three meals properly. So they say, all right, why don't you go and do some work, exercise there, and come out. So this pasta was nutraceutical added. So there was what you call in food is fortification. So
Okay.
some iron was fortified, and so yes, once they did, they found a good investor to back their production. So they did that. There are so many examples on the app basis, which was some of them trying to solve the idea. Idea was very good, but it was totally dependent upon the app. Probably they wanted to change the whole world by an app, and that's not possible. So in spite of very good ideas into sustainability around women, it could not really go ahead and get investors. So I have seen many ideas who seemingly in the beginning days didn't seem to be promising,
Right.
but it had its day. So they say every dog has its day.
Yes.
And I think ideas are also like that. Dogs are very terrific creatures. They are very loyal. They run fast. They are very awake. You'll find that dogs are very light sleep. So an idea also has to be that very very fast, agile, light
Right.
sleep, alert, and loyal towards your investors, towards your friends.
Right.
Even if a terrible example I gave, but yeah.
I think that's a very interesting point, actually. So if you fast forward all the way up to the sales pitch or the elevator pitch, as you mentioned that, I think that is the phase that can make or break a lot of different projects, especially those that are dependent on investment. What would you say are the different approaches today for an elevator pitch that maybe you'd be able to compare with the very earliest elevator pitches from maybe 10 years ago or 15 years ago that you encountered? How are the new generations tackling that, that make or break moment?
See, I think, Mr. Thomas, the elevator pitches earlier used to be attended and heard by almost 3-4 people. But these days I find that the investors will have just one nominee, one representative to listen. So there is no balancing act. Earlier there were 3 people listening your elevator pitch. So that means somebody will understand your point of view. Because while speaking, like we are speaking, I'm sure there are many words we have dropped. It's a human nature. We are not machine. We are not designed like that. So sometimes we'll speak, but we may speak about few things which is not required. So that happens. But here I found that the problems as far the elevator pitch is concerned, earlier we had more number to listen, this very less number to listen. So this is one. Second, I find that the time for the people who ask you to present before themselves during elevator pitch are also very less. So they always are in a hurry, and even if they are sitting, they are fiddling with their mobile phones. So that means they are not listening to your ideas or projects, which they should listen to you very very carefully. So this I have found a change. I've seen that.
Right.
They will not try to, they try, but this not earlier. It was a lot of very intense discussions. But these days discussions take place, but yeah, percentage has become less. Another aspect is how these youngsters tackle these investors. See, these youngsters have very simple thing. They do not have so much patience. So they would try to go and meet, let's say, banker or investors and tell them everything upfront without any courtesies. Like earlier, we'll be very careful. We'll say, Mr. Thomas, with your permission, can I talk for 5 minutes? These kids will say, hi, Thomas, this is my idea. When can I hear back from you? So, earlier it was, many people listening to ideas. Today, there's only one at a time. Second aspect I told you about earlier, the people will plan their ideas to be presented very well. These days, they will talk of broader points nicely. Minor points, they will not talk.
Right.
Because minor points, they believe that it's very too common. So they will try to, bifurcate and transfer. So this is another aspect. One more thing which I have found is over expectation as far the funding is concerned. Earlier, the expectation was not very high. If you tell somebody, okay, 100,000 Singapore dollar, is the funding requirement. People say 100,000 Singapore dollar. What you will do with it? But today the requirement may be 125,000 Singapore dollar, but the team of entrepreneurs, they will try to write more. I don't know how it matters, but they will write more. So if it is this much, they will try to slightly put it on the higher side.
Right.
But that's not fair.
So I guess another question I have is maybe taking a step back outside, because the topic that we're exploring here is just education, how things have changed in general, and now we've taken a look at new projects and incubation and that process that goes into that, which I think is the deliverable for a lot of students. Is what can I make out of what can I get out of the education, the time I'm spending in school and university and with my mentors. So if we take maybe a step back from that, and we can take a look at how traditional education today, brick and mortar universities, in your experience, what would you change in traditional education to make it more relevant for the students today entering the market of tomorrow? Is there something that you would maybe teach differently, or new subjects that aren't being taught right now because we're still stuck a little bit more in the older ways?
True, absolutely. Yeah, of course, because again, very interesting question, very, very interesting question. So you said about magic wand. I think professors don't have magic wand, because students are all the time having the magic wands in their hands. So they know how to use it better. But I think if given the opportunity, and I would like to see certain changes if it is possible, one is that the framework of higher education should be globally aligned. For example, a nomenclature of the program. Every university will find they use their own nomenclature, and that's unfair. So every university which is part of, maybe going to be part of Washington Accord, should share the common nomenclature. They also should share the common duration of the program. Plus the inter-university transfers, lateral transfer should be there at a certain fees. Maybe suppose somebody wants to go from, let's say, university in Lyon to some university which is in Berlin. So they should be able to get it transferred without worrying about the grades and the credit points. So this is one. I would like to really get it to happen very fast. Nomenclature, standardizations. And second, which is required to be changed, is that, look, in today's world, when students are so digitally connected, so IT savvy, and they know everything, I don't think all subjects we should teach in the class. So you must ask them to have 10 to 15% of the class on their own. And the class should only debate and discuss. Another aspect which is very important to change is that we do not have certain mechanisms to do the credit waiver. For example, you come with, let's say, 10 years of experience to an MBA college. Why you should do those subjects? Not required. So you can get some waivers. Many places have started giving waivers, but many places the waivers are not there. So students have to do and remember, to do this thing. So this is another which area of change that really would be welcome and expected. But most important, I don't think students should learn from one university. So maybe a system comes where 3 to 5 universities can offer the same degree, and students can spend, let's say, 1 semester here, 2nd semester in Chicago Booth, 3rd semester maybe goes back to Harvard University, 5th he may like to come to, maybe some cap can be put. So this area, if it happens, then you'll find a lot of integration among the vehicle, of the growth that is going to be around students' learning process. This definitely would love to change. And the last thing, what about the minimum salary for the graduates? Every government has minimum salary for plumber, minimum salary for expatriates, and so on and so forth. What about our students? If the students pass out, the magic wand is that they must be assured of certain amount of minimum salary. Maybe you can take their test. If they are not fit, fair enough. But once you start taking the work from them, you have to pay. So this area also would be, probably my wish list. That it happens and the government tries to fix it up. Government throughout the world. But on the lighter side, if you look at the mindset to be changed, that in education you need to teach everything and what is given. It's not fair. Some of the courses, some of the content can be studied by peer group, and classroom can be only discussions, can be. So these are the changes. If I had that little magic wand, I'll have to use that,
Right.
to change the landscape of higher education.
Okay. And so a lot of the things that you mentioned actually could be facilitated with online learning as well.
Yeah, that's true.
When it comes
That's
to,
true.
you mentioned self-learning when it comes to all of those kinds of things, or even just multi-university programs. A lot of those things can be customized and tailor-fit for individuals. Even credit waivers, when
True,
you can,
true.
when you have electives, things like that. So I think that's more where we're looking at this as well, in terms of the future of education. It could be, partially online, because then that puts a lot of the onus on the individual to customize their own learning experience. So I think that's interesting.
Yes, that's true. That's true. Because that would be definitely a lot of customization is required. If you look at any discipline, engineering, business management, statistics, business, mathematics, or if you take the case of simply arts, fashion, hotel management, hospitality, agriculture, and so on and so forth, it's very important to design those elements which can be flexi, and how to go ahead about is very, very important. Another aspect which is probably slightly linked to is that you do this, fair enough, nothing wrong in it, but what is the learning outcome, what is the career impact?
Right.
So every course has to be mapped, which you do very nicely. What is the career outcome? What are the career objectives, and how it is. So that fitment area has to be. So there had to be an area where the fit takes place.
Right.
The changes would be really good.
So as we begin to wrap up, do you have any closing thoughts? I have one final question afterwards, but if you want to leave the audience with one thing specifically, what is the most important thing that you'd want to leave them when it comes to the, what the outlook looks like on the academic side?
See, the closing thoughts through your medium, and I think it reaches to more number of people, is that for education and the learning too have to be separated. Education can be time bound, but not learning. So you'll find the students, and at the same time, education, which the formal education can go, and self-learning can also go. Today, a lot of digital content is available, and I think investing, let's say, €500 into a particular program is really worth it. So a student may do, let's say, 3 credit course from National University of, let's say, Singapore, but in a year, he or she may do some courses by paying, let's say, 300 Singapore dollar, 400 Singapore dollar, and doing on their own. So they are okay, I really request students not to stop being learners. So keep learning. Students, of course, the formal education will close. So this is one that they should try to do. Another aspect is that you must be part of some debate group, must be part of some strategy group, maybe on social media. Suppose you are a digital media, be part of digital media. So you will be kept abudge with lot of latest thing which is happening, and be part of their communication group. You'll find that something is wrong, you put them a query, 10 people will reply by end of the day. So it is very important that the knowledge and the learning, that is formal education and self-learning are separated. This is one. Apart that, students should try to find out new courses, new video lectures, new modules, which they can take it and take help in their life, or career, or whatever they are doing. So this is another. I think the last part is that a day comes whereby maybe a student doesn't graduate from one university. Maybe he does first year from Hong Kong University. Second year he must do from let's say Oxford University. Third year he may come to do it from university in Tanzania. Nothing wrong in it. I think a framework. But today I'll give you an example. Today you carry your bank cards, right? Credit cards. Throughout the world it is accepted. Your credit card can be swiped in anywhere in the world, and it is accepted because the algorithm behind the technology enabling the credit card payment to be made across the globe has been there. What about education? So maybe students become the graduate of 3 universities. Maybe he does from Singapore University, maybe he does from 1 year from MIT, and 1 year he may do from university in Taiwan. Because Taiwan University may be teaching some course which is superior course, which is they have the mastery. So I think these all things as a passing thought. would be that, okay, one day the regulatory bodies, the government people, and as well as students, both of the these important set of people have to realign their thought process, and very soon we should do that. We don't have much time to waste on this.
Right. Okay, no, these are really good recommendations. Actually, this is the first time I've heard, to join a debate group. I think that's a really interesting idea, because especially when you take into account the new generations, sort of being molded by social media, whereas every time you open up your phone, you're already in a debate class, right? Because everyone argues about everything online, so you're always having to defend your own opinions. And I think that there's no better way to actually test your knowledge on something rather than having to defend it and hearing the opposite. The opposite coming at you, and I think from there you can really understand. So, and I think, and people now are just in social media all the time. So it's an interesting.
That's true. No, social media all the time, but I think Mr. Thomas, this also needs to be. I think the world governing body, World Council of Leaders, should treat this also like an. I think I'm going a bit extreme, but like a poison or a drug. For example, if you got a painkiller, in the hospital, they give you morphine or some kind of thing, but you can't be allowed to take marijuana all outside or a substance outside. The WhatsApp and the social media is good, but it is just getting out of control. You see what is happening with this people health. The cervical pain already has increased. Shoulders pain have already started. So nothing wrong with the technology, but one thing we don't know how to stop where. So I think it's very important that we try to really regulate whereby there is some cap on usage, or the data cost goes up or something. I know it's not a popular thing I'm talking, but then if you compare and monetize, the ill effect on the health and the time and the mental alertness is so severe that we are not able to even measure right now. It's so severe. So that means, social media can exist, but I think a bit of reliance on that has to be a bit reduced.
Right.
Because that is really leaving people with no time.
Right. Well, I mean, if we stay on the debate track, if we take a devil's advocate view, we could also say that this has replaced some other means of either communication or work that would have also been physically demanding, in the past. So, whether it's, craning your neck to read a book over candlelight or things like this, those are also not great for your eyes and your neck.
Absolutely.
I think it's just a transition period.
True, absolutely. Agree with you. Because what's going to happen maybe are the devices also, because I think mobile devices are getting smarter. It will really become smarter and smarter, whereby we may not require an X-ray machine. An ECG machine will not read an MRE machine and things like that. But what is happening maybe a mobile phones also give you signal after some time that this is time usage, or if the battery is low, your internet stops working.
Yes.
Something will go in the sleep mode. So they should probably one day, they will know the sensory part of the body, and they can say, all right, he has been bending too much on me on a phone. Now I disable for half an hour.
Right.
I give 2-3 signals and I say, all right, take a rest or take a break or something. I don't know. But things will happen. While I'm a great supporter of social media, definitely technology is very, very good. It has saved all of us a lot of time. But, the only point of concern is that using it, in a rampant manner is causing a lot of health issues. And I think probably by awareness also it can be corrected.
Right, right. Interesting. No, I think this is, it provides an interesting end cap to the discussion when it comes to not only adapting to the new ways of learning, but also trying to craft it in a way that is, future proofing in the way that we would like to, the way that we would ideally like to work. One final question just for us to end on is, what are, we just talked a little bit about the more pessimistic side and what we would hope to change, but what are you most optimistic about for 2020?
For 2020
or 2020 onwards, I guess.
Okay, 2020 onwards, the most, I think, allow me to have 3-4 things. Is the first, the winner is going to be technology. Technology is to really, it'll try to help humanity tackle with disease, calamity, and all those ills that has a catastrophic effect. It will have. Technology will increase their landscape. Technology will make its presence felt. Technology will be savior. Second, The younger generation who are in the colleges right now, they are a fantastic lot. So I said, they not having a method is a method. They're so good. And why it is good? Because they have a habit of inquisitiveness, the inquiries. They keep on doing inquiries. And that inquiries will lead us to new discoveries as well as new inventions. So maybe a TB is completely eradicated. Maybe smallpox is not there. Maybe a deafness is gone. Maybe something is there. Maybe your aging process is a bit, expanded so that you age a bit later. So technology plus these certificates. The younger generation who are 20s, they are the ones who will do a lot of things. They will find solutions to a lot many areas whereby they will contribute. Another aspect which I find in next 3-4 years, world leaders will cooperate more because they have understood in today's world when everything is so linked, so much globalized. If one person has a problem, the other person also will have a problem. So we will probably learn to coexist, co-grow, and become happy together. So these are the few things in 2020. And I think if you permit me to add one more thing, the last part, there would be a lot of reforms on the governance side, the way the government functions, because again, these youngsters will join some political party and they will not bear what is happening. So they will change a lot of things, and that will be really good for the humanity. So I'm very upbeat. 2020 onwards, world will do better, society will be definitely better, and things will be even. One thing is that slight turbulent path we are crossing right now due to world economic activity.
Okay. Well, those are certainly things to keep our fingers crossed for.
True.
So thank you again for your time, Professor.
Thank you.
For coming in. This was
Thank you.
this was very interesting. So as a reminder, we are hosting live broadcasts every month. So sign up on our website for free and subscribe to our YouTube channel.
Sure.
And ladies and gentlemen, this has been another episode of the ICC Livecast. See you next time.